How important is the storytelling and what are the key objectives? Okay, good question. Awesome question, Mohammed. So I think with respect to storytelling, it is very important. You know, it kind of goes back down towards communication and, you know, as a product manager or co-founder or founder of a startup, you know, you're going to always have a lot of different stakeholders who have something that you need, whether it's bandwidth to partner with them, resources, money, and really being able to tell a good story, tell them, inspire them, get them on your side is very, very critical. I think, you know, arguably perhaps one of the most important skill sets of the product manager, and something that, you know, I also look for in hiring product managers. And I think that, you know, you might be talking about the key objectives of storytelling. So, you know, I think one is trying to help folks to whom you're speaking with understand the context of the problem, understand sort of the status quo, what is going on, you know, why is this not optimal, or why, you know, how could it be improved? Tell them all of the options, you know, these are all the potential options, and walk through with them sort of the benefits and the drawbacks to those potential solutions. And then subsequently, you know, try to wrap everything up in a nice bow, kind of maybe making your ultimate suggestion, saying, you know, in my personal opinion, we should kind of go with this plan. Still listen to their feedback, but then also be persistent in following up, making sure that you drive alignment. Because as a product manager, I think, again, you know, in addition to communication, kind of one of the ends of that communication that you're trying to meet is driving alignment. So yeah, good question. In user interviews, are there specific questions you learned on the most to get key insights without asking them explicitly what they needed or wanted? Yeah, no, good question. All right, so there are many ways to do user interviews right, and there are even more ways to do user interviews incorrectly. I've definitely learned from trial and error. I think what you want to do is try to remove as many anchors or biases from the user, unless those are things that you're specifically trying to find out. So for instance, you know, one thing that is pretty common and in my experience has sort of not worked out so well is when you ask someone, you say you come up with a beautiful prototype or a mock-up, and you put it in front of them and ask them, all right, tell me, what do you think? You know, people are going to say, particularly if they're your friends, they're going to say, wow, this looks great. I could imagine using it every day. I'd pay you $100 a month. But, you know, particularly around pricing is always super challenging. It might not be the merit of the product that is speaking. It might be more your relationship that's speaking. And so subsequently, I think what is more helpful is sort of trying to understand their conceptualization and understanding of the product by asking them more generic questions, like, you know, ask them first about, say, a specific problem or scenario, ask them how they currently, you know, work through that problem or scenario. Then subsequently, you know, tell them, okay, we're going to look at a number of different prototypes and examples. Would love for you to tell me kind of what you see and what you think each component does. So instead of being prescriptive, you're trying to be as objective as possible. And then provide them general tasks and ask them, okay, so say if you wanted to apply for a job on this page, how would you go ahead and do that? And let them kind of try to understand that. And then additionally, you know, I think one of the hardest areas to gauge people's feedback on, of course, is pricing, particularly if you're pricing B2C, or even B2B is also kind of a bit of dark art. I think that there are a lot of different frameworks that you can use instead of just asking them outright, all right, how much value do you think you're going to get out of this, or what do you think you'd pay for it, particularly unless they you give them some sort of like academic experiment where you give them $20 and they would pay you back with that $20. Even then, that's somewhat biased. I think one of the better ways is through what's called a conjoint analysis, where you are really trying to value each and every individual feature, and then provide them different bundles, and then you run through this conjoint experiment where first, say you're providing them a cell phone that has a battery life of this range and a screen size of this, this size, and internal storage of this size, and then you provide them another cell phone that has like those dimensions that are perhaps a little bit different, and then based upon the delta of that analysis, you can kind of tease out, how much each individual incremental improvement to a feature would, how much would they pay for? And still not exactly as optimal as getting them to pay for it into the real world, but that's kind of another way where you're not explicitly asking them a question like, how much would you pay for it? It's more having them consider a number of different solution sets, asking them, how much would you sort of pay in aggregate, and then being able to more really kind of find the delta or the difference in value between features.